Hey guys, Coach Nate here, back with Trevor at Perform for Life Run Lab in San Francisco. What are we doing today, Trevor?
V02 max test for you.
Oh man, I'm gonna go through a V02 max runner's test. I'm gonna get to that puke level on the treadmill, but Trevor's gonna take us through the test, why we do it, the numbers we get, and why it's so valuable for your running and your training. Let's do it. So Trevor, you got me in the studio today. I see a scuba thing over there that I'm probably gonna have to put on my face. Let's get started with just what a V02 max is and why it's important for runners.
Yeah, of course. So whenever we're running, we're consuming oxygen out of the air, right? We know that the best runners in the world can usually consume the most amount of oxygen for how much they weigh. So the Met cart, this device, and the scuba mask that you're putting on, basically it's measuring how much oxygen is in the room, how much oxygen is in the air that you exhale. The difference is basically like you're an oxygen monster. You pretty much ate it up. Now it's consumed. That's the oxygen that you're actually metabolizing and using for energy. Now we know the most efficient runners in the world can consume a lot of energy and also basically distribute that and put it back out.
I see. So we're trying to see a correlation with runners that can get more oxygen into their working muscles are going to see a correlation in performance versus runners that aren't able to.
Yes, exactly. But VO2 max isn't the most important factor. The most important thing is called the anaerobic threshold or race pace. So what is your max capacity? Now, if we both had the same VO2 max, let's say it was a value of 60, but you could maintain 90% for a whole race and I could maintain 85%, you would still beat me at the end of a marathon or half marathon. So VO2 max test doesn't only tell us about your max capacity, but also what intensity can you maintain for an entire race.
For sure.
Which is essentially your steady state.
That's cool. So these are important training zones. So like how long could someone hold a VO2 max effort, for example?
For possibly 2 minutes if you're mentally really in grind mode.
Wow, okay.
Maybe
so this
longer.
is a really short effort. This is like 800
short.
meters to like a mile type of effort,
it's your
plus or
genuine
minus.
max capacity, exactly, yeah. So you can only sustain that for a short amount of time because acid is accumulating, and that's that burning feeling that you feel at the end of the 400, going to the next 400 for the 800.
You guys are gonna see me go through the paces. This is gonna be a real treat.
Puke cycle, right?
All right, cool. Well, let's head on over to the treadmill and get me set up.
Awesome, let's do it.
So we're by the treadmill. Trevor, what are we doing?
V02 max test. You're about to take off.
Guys, I'm a little nervous, I have to say.
You're
I'm
hyped.
nervous, a little hyped. I'm hyped right now.
You're excited? Yeah,
I am.
So just to be, another note too on this is that a VO2 max test, it really measures your maximum capacity.
Right.
Now, that's not only physiological, that's also psychological.
Right.
So we're taking you up to a point of volitional fatigue, not genuine fatigue. Difference there is, when do you call quits? Versus what are you actually capable of, right?
And that's an interesting thing with tests like this because when someone goes through it for the first time, their fatigue is going to be a lower point because mentally they're like, I don't know, but people almost get better at the test the more times they do it.
Yes, most definitely, a learning curve, but also it tells you a lot about an athlete and how much
they can suffer.
The pain cave, right? The pain cave, like how steady of a state can you maintain, how much can you push through.
Yeah.
So that's cool.
Well, let's jump in.
Yeah, let's go.
All right, here we go. So we got this guy.
You're just gonna lift that up. This can be right in your sternum. So I have it. Do you see the nice liquid gel there?
So I see that. Upside down.
Yeah. So that gel increases the electrical conductivity, which basically will give us a stronger signal.
Yeah, I feel like this works better than the thing on my wrist.
Yeah, so the thing on your wrist,
work.
that uses a little green, basically you think of it as like a laser.
Yeah.
It goes down into the blood.
Yeah.
And every time that blood pulses through, it catches, oh, there's blood moving. Oh, there's blood moving.
And that's
heart rate, heartbeat.
Heartbeat.
This is the actual electric conductivity of pulse.
Pulse. Yeah, so we're getting a little bit more of an accurate thing.
So, exactly, yeah. So I'm gonna have you go and step up on the treadmill for me.
Fantastic. Hey guys, pardon the sounds. Our lovely neighbors are doing some home renovations. Or who knows?
I think it's a ceramic store. Yeah.
Well, you know, good luck with the ceramic store.
Yeah, good luck. All right, so I'm gonna have you go and hold this up to your face.
Okay.
Right there. Perfect. Claustrophobic at all?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Have you gone diving?
I have gone diving.
You've gone diving? Where?
Not too bad. I have been.
I probably don't need to stay on my face. I've been a few different places. Hawaii, when I was really young, to Fiji, which was pretty cool.
Ooh, Fiji, cool. On the way over to New Zealand. Nice.
And I've swam with the dolphins before in my former triathlon life.
Oh.
There you go.
Perfect. relatively uncomfortable
Yeah.
to start.
So you probably can't hear me very well, but this already restricts at least a little bit of the airflow, which is kind of interesting.
Yeah, slightly.
Totally.
One-way valve. And remember, we're measuring the amount of oxygen in the air around you, and then we're measuring the amount of oxygen in the air as you exhale. Therefore, we know how much you consumed, right? You're like a big oxygen cookie monster, just swallowing it up out of the atmosphere.
Oh yeah. Give me the cookies. Give me the cookies.
Make sure it's kind of even. Be relatively. Take your palms for me. Cover the ends. Right here on this. Yep. And tuck into the side of your face. Do you feel any holes or gaps anywhere?
No holes or gaps.
No holes or gaps? Awesome. Alright. Yeah. Get you in. Let's go to the exhalings.
Here we go, guys.
Here we go, squad. We're now locked in. Alright, so now we're just going to wait for the normalization process. This is when the machine is basically going to calibrate and make sure that the data is relatively consistent, okay? So just to be clear, let's go through the test and what you're going to actually do, what that means and why, right? So basically, as we're going through the test, we're going to start at a really slow speed, a really high grade. 1.7 miles an hour, 15% grade. The reason that we do such a high grade is because grade causes more of an intensity gradient than speed. It's harder to climb up a hill than run a little bit faster. So by doing that, we can basically almost guarantee that we can get you to volitional fatigue, ideally somewhere between 8 and 12 minutes. That's where we want to max you out at. We don't want to drag it out too long. Do that as well.
We don't want to drag it out too long.
We don't want to drag it out too long, no. But every stage is going to last 2 minutes, okay? So it'd be 2 minutes at 1.7 miles an hour, 2 minutes at 2.5, 2 minutes all the way through. That's because mitochondria itself usually takes around 2 minutes to reach a steady state. You see on the graph, it'll spike, flatten, spike, flatten. That is considered steady state.
You gotta give the mitochondria a chance.
You gotta give the mitochondria a chance to get rolling, right? Exactly. And once those are going and taking off, then we know that they're supporting your run through oxidation or through using oxygen as energy as well. Okay? Any questions with that?
No.
No? Solid?
Solid.
Alright, cool. And we'll have a bunch of cool data to go over. So this gives us a lot of insight into a couple of things. One, your maximum capacity, your max steady state, or it's considered your lactate threshold. Max steady state's a little higher than that, usually in the lab setting, but max steady state, basically how fast of a pace can you maintain throughout a race given a specific distance. Also your aerobic threshold, or at what point does your oxygen system turn on? If we think of it like a light switch, like a dimmer, it's always on, but what point does it really start to turn on? And what is the lowest intensity that you can start to see adaptations and changes as well?
Amazing.
Awesome. Alright, you ready to get after it?
I'm ready to get after
We are good to go. Go and straddle the belt for me. So go and straddle the belt. Get this incline up. All the way to 15.
15. Go ahead.
Awesome. And as soon as that belt is vertical, you can go ahead and start climbing. Again, these first stages are pretty slow, super, super slow, but what it gives us is a good graph that it'll give us a nice logarithm that'll go all the way up to the top. Uncomfortable? Is it on? We're good. We're good. We're good. Okay. Awesome. Go ahead and step on it. And here we go. You're locked in.
Okay.
Dun dun dun! Superman. So fast.
Nice and slow.
Perfect. Okay, so heart rate, VO2. It all looks good. We're gonna look at the back end real quick. Make sure we're solid. Perfect. Alright, let's get 1 to 10. Where are you at? 1? Okay, perfect. We're gonna go up, alright? We're gonna skip stage 1. We're gonna go on stage 2 for 1 minute. Nate, you wanna make an over-under bet for dinner?
Let's do it.
Let's do it. I say, I'm gonna go on the high end, over 55, which would make you superior, extremely fit.
Okay.
If you go under, I think that's, what do you think?
Wait, so if I'm under that, I lose?
Yeah. Or do you want to be able to push yourself to the opposite?
I would say, I would like to be 57.
57.
57.
All right, 57, you got it. 7. Scale 1 to 10, where are we at? Maybe 2, 3?
1.5 or 2.
1.5 or 2? That's perfect. All right, and then we're going to go up. You ate carbs for breakfast, didn't you?
I don't.
You had some carbs today?
Can you tell?
Yeah. Yeah, yours a little higher than definitely not a bacon scramble, right?
No, I had chili and rice.
Nice.
Or like this. And then I had bacon, sweet potatoes.
Alright. Sounds delicious. Alright, man. Heart rate is currently 103. V02 is 19. Now, V02 is your milliliters of oxygen per kilogram per minute. So it's relative. So if I took this test immediately after, we can essentially say, oh, you can consume more oxygen per minute per pound than I can, because we're using that relative value. Now, absolute VO2 is used sometimes in cycling and bigger athletes as well, but mostly we want to use relative because then we can compare athletes.
Like max is like what's the size of your engine.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. So basically, if we had somebody who was 300 pounds and they got the same VO2 as us, that would be pretty impressive. Because they're actually consuming a lot more oxygen than we are. It's just relative to their body. VO2 is 35.7. Heart rate's still pretty low, 115. Good. Alright, scale 1 to 10, how are we feeling? 2, 3, 4, 2? Okay, perfect. Going up to the next round, right? 4.1. Let me know if you can still come to an awkward walk jog. We're going to skip on to the next stage, okay? So now, stage 4.9. Broke 50, 51.3. Heart rate's still pretty low. Cruising. steady state. That's awesome. Alright, 156. One more minute at this stage. One more minute. Long and steady and climb. Alright, my man, where are we at? 6, 7, 8, 6. Nice job, man. Going up. It's 53.7. Good job. 8 minutes in. Officially in the pain kit. Officially in the pain kit. Good work, good work. Here we go, this is mental from here. Awesome job. 1 minute into the stage, 1 minute to go. Heart rate is 176, VO2 is 59.5. Good job. Seconds to go in this stage. 30 seconds. Doing great, doing great. Scale of 1 to 10, where are we at? 8, 9, 10? 9, alright, great job. Great job. Ready to go to the next stage? Got a little bit to push? Alright, going up. There we go. Speed up. Good, good, good. Good work, Nate. Awesome. Awesome. Nice job, nice job. Good. Great work. Speed up. Good. Good. 30 seconds in. Keep it up, dig deep. Good, yeah. Careful, careful. You're good, nice. Slow down, slow, nice job. Look out, you should walk. Keep your chest up, keep your chest up. Breathe in. And you can mash up, okay? Nice job. Yeah. Good work, good work. Go ahead and walk for me, okay? Super slow underneath you. Walk. Walk in real quick. Yes. You good? You good? Okay.
Oh. Okay.
Nice shot. Nice shot. That's right. Walk it out. Yeah. Take your time. How's this feet? It's okay? Yeah? Okay.
Oh.
Good. Great job. Keep your chest up, chin up. Don't close your lungs up. Just keep walking. How you feeling? Man, you pushed through the pancake.
Yeah.
You pushed through the pancake.
Yeah,
I'm
yeah,
impressed. I'm impressed.
Came my A game today.
You did. You showed up
Yeah.
ready to ball.
I came.
Yeah.
It's just really hard. It's like really hard.
Yeah.
It's just, you just like, your mouth gets dry. Like, you can get enough oxygen, but the mask can sometimes feel like it's limiting a little bit. And so I can feel, it's almost like when athletes put on wetsuits for the first time.
Yeah.
They feel constricted.
Feel tight. But also remember the test is designed specifically to make you feel that way as well.
Yeah, and you know, like the people watching you, you're in like some form of contraption.
Yeah, right.
Because everything about this is not comfortable or natural.
Yeah.
And then, you know, it's not like you have anyone to run or a finish line to go after. It's like I said, stay at the damn clock.
Yeah.
Just see what happens.
Just run, yeah. Just do what you can. Yeah.
Oh man.
Awesome.
You guys help motivate me. Thank you. I don't want to let you guys down. Oh God.
That's how you keep pushing.
Oh.
Take a deep. Good work. Next time. So heart rate's around 125, 130-ish. I want to wait till that's around 110 and let you recover as well. We get our recovery data.
Yeah.
A couple minutes to digest, and then we can go through this as well.
Yeah.
We have some really clean data. From a nerdy standpoint, this is a very good test.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, from the back end, just looking at the logs and plots, this is very clean.
Yeah.
Very clean.
Those carbohydrates didn't mess me up too much.
No, they help you.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, carbs, high intensity, carbs, low intensity fat.
Yeah,
so I
for
mean,
sure.
you're, yes.
Yeah, a little bit in there.
You just started a little higher than usual, but
Yeah. Oh, it kind of kick off.
RER, like at the beginning, your RER, we'll talk about that. It tells you what fuel you're using to fuel your run.
Right, right,
so,
right.
You know, HDMN, the ketone
Yeah.
body shots, those are huge right
Interesting.
now. Or carbs.
I was gonna say,
gels.
because I just did eat, I normally eat at like 1,
Yeah.
but that's like too soon before this test.
Yeah.
And then it's like, I don't wanna come in not having eaten at all and just be dead.
Right.
So I ate at like 11:30
Yeah.
today.
It's about a good time.
Yeah, and then
We always say 3 or
it's
4
like
hours.
steak and sweet potatoes,
Yeah.
which was good.
Yeah, it's super good.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Cool.
Feeling good?
Feeling good
Dave's
there.
clean. You okay? You want to keep walking?
I can get
Take
up.
time.
I can get up.
It's up to you. It's okay. I just want to make sure you're feeling good.
Oh, now I have that feeling of like getting off the treadmill. I feel like I'm still
You're
moving.
still moving?
I'm
I always
just
get
like-
that after like super long runs.
I feel like I've been on a boat for a long time and I get on land and I'm just used to doing this. Oh man. Guys, that was hard. That was really, really hard. Now, why do we do this?
Why do we do this? Man, it tells you everything.
Oh,
it's the
man.
secret sauce.
It
It's
is
the
the secret
recipe.
sauce.
I mean, if you think about running, there's a couple different things. There's performance and injury prevention is what you break it down to.
Yeah.
Right? If you want to enhance your performance, you have to understand your physiology. With understanding physiology, now your program can be spot on.
Yeah.
So let's say you're my athlete. Now I can write you a specific program. Your tempo runs need to be at exactly this pace.
Interesting.
Your long and slow distance runs, you have to have a heart rate between this range.
Here and here.
Rather than I'm going to group you within.
So interesting.
everything
So
done.
you're training with heart rate as a runner. Get out of here. It's old school, right? A lot of old school runners just train on track and pace. I know
Just train
so
on
many
track
old
and
school
pace,
runners
yeah.
that they don't use heart rate at all.
Yeah, because
The triathletes and the cyclists, they picked it up. But with runners, I've seen like a lot of old school runners that they don't.
use it. Yeah,
Or
which
not as
pace
many.
is good.
Yeah.
But what we do is we correlate pace with heart rate
Totally.
as well. So I'm watching the two.
Yeah.
Now what happens if you go for a long tempo run and your heart rate's 10 beats higher than it usually is?
Right.
Now maybe you're stressed. Maybe you had a long day
Sure.
of work. Maybe you're not sleeping well. And that's how you go into my
It starts
back
to
end.
tell you the data,
Exactly. So now as the back end, I have your profile. I know what's your max steady state,
Sure.
what's your long. So your tempo run, if you're going soft in your tempo run, I know.
Yeah.
I'm not reaching that. Whereas in grouping, we usually group like, oh, your tempo run should be this percentage.
Sure.
It's usually 60%. But what we see is the range is actually anywhere from 40 to 90%.
Oh, wow.
What can you actually hold, right?
Interesting.
Standard Desmond like where are you within the spectrum of runners?
Yeah.
Are you over here, over here? We usually just prescribe in the middle
Yep.
and say that's good for everyone. But now it's a specific test just for you, just based on your physiology.
Yeah.
We can talk about nutrition, fueling, what you should
Oh,
eat,
wow.
when you should eat it, what
So
your
we
heart
really
rate
get a
should
whole lot of
be,
numbers here.
A ton of things. Yeah,
That's
you're locked
awesome.
in.
Well, let's get set up here and go through some of the numbers.
Go through it. Yeah.
Thanks, coach.
Yeah, you killed it.
Yeah.
Nice job. How you feeling?
Better than I was a couple
Yeah.
minutes ago. Yeah, I got that scuba thing off, but now we have all this lovely data. So what we got, sir?
What do we got
going on?
So basically, we're gonna go over the data of the VO2 test.
Yeah.
Wow.
One of those
As
words.
we, yeah, as we progress through the test,
Yeah.
basically VO2 increases because the intensity increases.
Right.
Same with heart rate, right? So as the speed got faster, heart rate and oxygen consumption goes up. Then you can
Right.
see this relationship here. It's very linear. We know that as the intensity goes up, heart rate and VO2 usually go up.
Yep.
Now what we're looking for here is, do you see this green is VO2,
Green line. Yep.
red is VCO2. Now do you see how at the end they plateau, they
Yep.
flatten out. Now the intensity increased,
Right.
but your value stayed the same. That
Right.
means that we attained a relatively accurate VO2 max.
Interesting. So if I had jumped off here earlier and I was like uncle, but you still saw this trending upward,
we call it a VO2
it's like
peak.
this dude jumped off earlier
Yeah,
than
exactly.
what was true capacity.
So we would consider that a VO2 peak. It was the highest peak that you attained, but it was not a true VO2 max. There's a couple criterias, and
Nice.
you met all those criteria.
Wow, so I was at my VO2 max for close
A long
to
time.
2
Close
minutes.
to 2 minutes.
Whoa.
You're in the pain cave for 2
Pain
minutes.
cave for 2 minutes.
Impressive. Honestly, very impressive. And we'll go into that, how you could sustain that.
So that's
as
interesting.
well.
So if I had gone on longer here, would you have, would have just kept flatlining, do you think?
It would have kept flatlining.
Yeah.
Honestly, if you would have did one more minute, I would have cut you off. 'Cause
Yeah.
You're just you're so far away from homeostasis. You're
Yeah.
so far away from Netflix and chill that your body is just like
Don't know what's happening.
wiped out. There's so
Yeah.
much acid from breaking down energy, ATP, and releasing protons. Like
Yeah.
positive acid. It's just accumulating and accumulating and accumulating.
Yeah.
So you're just hurting yourself.
I felt that moment towards the end was like, I got it, I don't got it. And then
Yeah.
it's just like sand filled the legs and it was
Boom.
like, I'm just done.
Yeah, of course. So
Oh, man.
we can go through this test.
Yeah, let's do it.
Basically, the start of the test, your VO2 was 5.1, heart
Yeah.
rate was 81. Basically, a true VO2 at rest is usually 1 met or 3.5. Basically, and a heart rate is usually a little lower than 80,
Yeah.
especially for somebody that's fit. Basically, you're pretty excited, hyped
Yeah.
up, you're ready to go.
It's like the afternoon.
Yeah, you're
Maybe that
rolling, you've
matters,
been
yeah.
moving, exactly. So we can this is a bit obsolete. Now we transfer on to AET.
Yeah.
AET, this is aerobic threshold.
Aerobic threshold.
Basically, this is that light switch that we talked about. This
Okay.
is when the oxidative system relatively really, really kicks on.
Sure.
We put in super layman's terms. If you wanted to improve your aerobic capacity or how fast you could run or improve your oxygen systems,
Yeah.
this is the lowest intensity that would possibly
I
give you
see.
benefits. Now that's really cut and dry, like slapping
Sure.
a heart rate on it, right? It's a lot more complex, but basically in a nutshell, we're saying somewhere around here, you need to work at least here
At a heart rate of 140,
141.
141 and a
Ish.
44.6 VO2.
To increase your capacity. Therefore, we can kind of say a recovery run should hurdle somewhere around here.
Yep.
Right? Because even though you're recovering, you still want to be getting better. You don't want to be doing dead work. It's like going to the gym and bicep curling 2.5s, 10 times, and then leaving. It's like, where's the pro-con ratio?
Isn't
Where's
that
the
Soul
benefit?
Cycle? Just kidding. Continue.
Exactly. So the next one with aerobic threshold transfers anaerobic threshold.
Okay.
Difference between
So where in the
aerobic-
graph is aerobic threshold so people can see it?
We're
like
gonna
if they're
go.
looking.
That is here, this blue line.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
Basically, when this oxygen stops at the bottom,
Yes.
it starts to rise again.
I see.
This is the VE, the ventilatory rate, over the oxygen consumed.
Interesting.
Basically, how much oxygen you're consuming per breath at rest before the test. It's going to be kind of relatively a little higher. Kind of chilling,
sure.
But your ventilatory rate at a certain point will spark up and hit. It's your ventilatory threshold. That's when things really kick in.
Yeah.
We're using that as a marker for
Yeah.
your aerobic threshold. So we're going to start talking about aerobic and anaerobic thresholds
Yeah.
individually, right? We know the aerobic threshold is that light switch, kind of where the aerobic system really turns on, or the ventilatory threshold. The difference between aerobic and anaerobic is
that on this graph, like where these numbers cross?
That is the anaerobic threshold.
Or sorry, the aerobic threshold
Aerobic
here.
threshold is here where this line starts to come up.
I
where
see.
your ventilatory rate starts to increase at
Right.
a spike, a steady incline.
Okay.
Pretty much. So your ventilatory rate, once that kicks on, we know that there's signaling molecules in the body saying, hey, you need to increase
Yeah.
your breathing, you need to get more oxygen.
Yeah.
That point, when that kicks on, we're trying to put a stamp on that heart rate, basically. So then we know when that system is turning on.
Interesting.
and off.
Okay.
Does that make sense? So then again, training-wise, we know that a recovery run, we want to at least be somewhere in there.
Yep.
Because then we know the mitochondria are on, what oxidizes everything.
Mm-hmm.
That's where all the oxygen goes. Powerhouse the cell. Remember that from old school bio? Powerhouse
No.
biology? No, never heard that?
No,
You
I
heard
didn't.
that?
I didn't like biology. I'm sorry.
I'm sure everyone's
Continue.
heard of Powerhouse of the cell.
Because you made
So-
me figure this out. I am not a scientist,
Yeah.
so we'll just get that out of the way.
That's all right.
So on back to the fancy
On
graph,
back to
sir.
the fancy graph. Yeah, onward,
Scientist.
onward. Perfect. So basically, at this point, we know that the mitochondria are really turned on. It's like a light
Yeah.
dimmer. They're always on, but now they're starting to really turn up
Mm-hmm.
the brightness as well. The difference between aerobic and anaerobic. Aerobic is considered with oxygen. Anaerobic is considered a pathway without oxygen. Now, it doesn't mean when we're doing anaerobic activities, you're not using oxygen at all. That's like
Right.
saying I'm going to sprint down the street and I'm not going to breathe.
Right.
No, but most of the energy is coming from anaerobic pathways, not aerobic pathways.
Sure.
So that's a big difference there. So sprinting versus
And that's an
resistance.
important number for endurance runners because
Extremely important because this value is the maximum attainable pace for an athlete. Specifically because if you look at this graph here, the point is here. When the red line and the green line cross,
I see.
that means that the amount of oxygen coming in and the amount of CO2 going out are equal, almost a 1-to-1 ratio. What that tells us is that you're consuming as much oxygen as CO2 you're exhaling. Now, the interesting thing about this point is, as we release CO2, it's a buffer. That acidy feeling that you started to feel
Yep.
on the treadmill, CO2 is a buffer of that acid. So we actually release hydrogen protons out into the atmosphere, the acid that you make. So at this point, we know that you can maintain and buffer the amount of acid
Yeah.
that you're accumulating. As soon as you go above this point, in theory, you cannot maintain that because now you're releasing more acid
yeah.
than you're really like oxygen you're consuming.
And now there's
It's
like a
not
timer
equal.
starting.
Now
and it's
pretty
like
much
the
there's
candle's
like
burning.
an internal bomb that
Yep.
just went off. Right. So this is almost an unmaintainable rate. Here, right at this rate, you might be able to maintain it for quite a while. It's going to take a physiologically like perfect day, perfect psychological motivation, good fueling, and everything like
Well,
that.
like, would this be correspond to some like race intensity?
Race pace.
Race, but for like what distance?
Let's say half to full marathon.
Oh, okay,
half
wow.
to full, like a true sustainable.
Oh, so you
longer
can
distance run.
at this threshold here, you can in theory sustain that for like 2 hours.
Yes, there's a couple things that go into that. There's
Yeah.
cardiovascular drift. There's all these other deep concepts.
You gotta
But
be well trained.
In theory, in theory, if you're motivated, you're fueled right, everything perfect situation, not off track, maybe everything
Sure.
like that didn't work out the day before. Everything
Yeah,
is perfect. Yes, you can maintain that for an entire race. That would be
Oh,
a
wow.
race pace. Biggest thing to talk about too here is this value is super important because it is your max steady state.
Right.
But we always want to run faster. It's the point of racing, right, as runners. Some runners just want to finish. Some runners want to race faster.
Yeah.
So if this is your max physiological capacity to race, I want to make sure you can actually race at that pace. If you're not there, let's talk about your test. Did you stop because of breathing or because of your legs were burning?
I stopped. Well, breathing was very hard, but I stopped mostly because of my legs.
Most of your legs.
Yeah.
So we can assume that the legs, just on that very simply,
Sure.
the legs are the limiting factor, not your oxidative capacity. Your muscular endurance is limiting you from reaching that race pace, not your oxidative capacity at this point. And so on. So it gives us some valuable insight as well. Makes
Interesting.
sense?
That does.
Yeah. So next time you go for a run, if you see your heart rate is above 170, let's say it's 180, 185.
Sure.
You know that you are grinding. You're getting up.
Yeah.
Like you're pushing it, right? We know that we want to tone it back. Now, if you're running a 5K, a 10K, sure.
And you're
Do what
kind
you
of
can.
finishing at or above that level.
Yeah, exactly. You can maintain that relatively for a longer time. But if you want to run a race, a full marathon at a very consistent pace, not go negative
Totally.
split or positive split, that's where you want to get at. Exactly.
Now let's get to the fun part. Let's get to the whole peak thing.
The whole peak thing, right. So the most amount of oxygen that you could consume in a minute, based on how much you weigh, is 63.3 milliliters.
Yeah.
Basically, as you think of this is the most amount of oxygen you can consume per minute, but also this tells us a lot about your capacity. What we really want to talk about is the peak. Is it a true peak? And we found that yes, because it plateaus, I would say it's a true peak. Also, your RER, a value we're going to talk about in a minute, got above 1.1, so we can also say, yes, that's a true peak as well. Also, did your heart rate get around your max heart rate based on your age? So you're about
35.
220 minus your age is about 185, right? Math might be wrong there. 195, 185. One of those, we got a heart rate of 179 or 180. So you know that your heart rate got pretty close.
The ballpark, exactly,
Ballpark. So we're ballparking. Are you near your max heart rate? Did you plateau? Yes, yes, and yes. You got a true peak of 63.3.
And what you're saying before is, if this number right here, am I looking at the right color?
Yeah.
The red
that's
one?
CO2. So green is oxygen.
And then blue is the VO2?
Blue is heart rate.
Oh, blue's heart rate.
Blue is heart rate, yeah.
Are any of these the actual VO2 number
Yes.
that correspond?
Green.
Green. Okay, so green is right here.
Yep.
So we could see that this kind of crested and was like kind of staying, and you were saying that this made it more of a true peak because I was actually seeing this plateau.
You sustained the VO2. So basically, the intensity went up. What do we know about work and intensity? As the intensity goes up, we consume more oxygen.
Right.
The intensity went up and you did not consume more oxygen.
Right, so we kinda
basically,
knew that
you're
that was a real
you're at your
test.
max, right? Yeah, we know
Amazing.
it's a real test. Exactly. Also, we know your peak heart rate is around 179. Fun fact, if you trained at that, specifically you would burn 1,500 calories an hour.
Woo!
Ooh, fun. That's a lot of calories.
That's
huh?
a lot.
You could eat a lot after that. Yeah. One of the last things we're going to talk about on this first page is the recovery.
Okay.
Recovery is super important because how quickly can your heart rate drop back to a sustainable rate?
Mm-hmm.
So let's say you're racing, there's a lot of hills, a lot of elevation change. You get up to the top of a hill. Whoever can get their heart rate back down to their steady state the quickest, in theory, should be right rolling, right? Recovery rate. So your heart rate dropped around 38% in the first minute and around 55% in the second minute. Both very good values. Usually we see somewhere between 25 and 50. Anything above that we consider pretty solid.
Yeah.
Anything below that, we want to change our training.
Yeah,
plans.
we could.
Good.
And if I came in here less fit, we would probably see these numbers a little bit on the lower side.
Exactly. So
I'm
now
doing my homework, guys. So now we're going to get into some practical applications of all this fancy number stuff.
fancy graphs, right? Yeah. So one of the most important things to talk about is training and its applications. How do you actually use VO2 max to help a runner get faster?
Yeah.
Also maintain their capacity and improve. We want to see runners when they come back improve and running faster. So if you look at this top point here,
Yeah.
the VO2 and the VCO2, the green and red point, we know that your max steady state is where these lines cross. We know your peak is here. Now, I'm sure you've heard of high-intensity interval training.
Yep.
When it was first designed, it was specifically designed to improve oxidative capacity. We know it's the best way on paper, scientific peer-reviewed journal, to improve oxidative capacity. But how in the theory, like, what are the theories? What's the foundation, actually?
Sure.
We know that at your max VO2, you could only maintain this for about 2 minutes.
Right.
But we know that your steady state is around here. Now remember, the mitochondria at the steady state are all the way turned up. They're all the way on, and those are buffers themselves, as well as CO2s equal to oxygen coming in. At that point, we know you can train in intervals, specifically 2 minutes on, 2 minutes off, at your VO2 and at your max steady state. and still have the capacity to buffer the amount of acid that you're doing, which makes your average intensity halfway in between, somewhere in here, rather than the peak. Does that make sense?
So I'm training 2 minutes here,
2 minutes there,
and then
2 minutes at your max,
and I'm alternating.
and you're alternating 2 minutes on, 2 minutes off, 2 minutes
So
on, 2 minutes
2
on.
minutes off is here.
Yes, 2 minutes off.
That's not really off.
That's not really off, but
that's hard.
physiologically speaking, that is an intensity that you can
Interesting.
buffer. Now, yes, that's
So
really
how many
hard.
minutes would I do that in a row? Because a lot of times when you hear 2 minute intervals, you're like, I'm gonna go for 2 minutes, and then I'm gonna bring it like
Way
all the
down.
way down.
Exactly.
And for this is like, I'm like, it's almost like some over unders.
Of course.
Yeah,
so
so I'm
that's
like
when you're gonna be
above
testing.
and then below.
How much can you sustain?
Yeah.
What is your cardiovascular endurance within that specific capacity of HIIT training?
Oh.
Usually it's around 12 to 20 minutes or
Yeah.
6 to 10 intervals specifically. Then we work on that interval capacity.
Yeah.
Again, basically, we know that at this rate, you can only last 2 minutes.
Right.
Basically. You can only last 2 minutes.
Yeah.
We know here, in theory, you can just take off. Right?
So you're like forcing your body to
forcing you
adapt under.
meeting in the middle, specifically
Interesting.
based on your ratios here.
Oh, wow.
That will optimize your training. So it's called
That sounds terrible.
optimization of training.
Yeah.
Exactly. Then we know your long and slow distance run needs to be within the range of here and below here, the aerobic threshold,
Sure.
anaerobic threshold. Make sure the light switch is on, but the dimmer is not super bright or it's blinding.
Yeah.
Right? Exactly. So that's a practical application and the training aspect here. Then we can also go into periodization and incremental stages and adding mileage.
Now this is interesting because in the treadmill and right at 15% grade, we're not really talking about running speeds here.
Yes,
right?
we're not
Because
really
the
talking about
15% grade is like hard to, what does that mean? It's hard to
Yes,
translate
exactly.
that.
So there's been 1,000 or 5,000 studies done on transferring speed and grade on a treadmill to flat ground running.
Okay.
What I do in the back end with all this nerdy stuff, I basically
Ooh.
create
More nerd stuff, guys.
a logarithmic equation,
Yeah.
and I can estimate whatever intensity you're at
Oh, wow.
and what speed that would correlate with using the American Council of Sports Medicine and their studies and what they found.
Oh,
so I
very
can
cool.
actually take this data, convert it into a running speed and say, okay, your current max steady state is a 8-minute pace, 7-minute pace, 6-minute pace. Your VO2 max, you can maintain a 6-minute pace, whatever it is.
Interesting.
Your long slow distance runs should be at least a 8:30 pace or 9-minute pace. And that's the back end stuff with the data, but
That's great.
I can still give that data.
Well, it's so great because we had so many questions online for our athletes who are getting ready for a half or full marathon. They're like, how fast should my long runs be?
Yeah.
And sometimes people are going too fast or too slow.
Yeah.
And then also it's like, well, I want to spend certain times at certain speeds, and especially if I'm trying to go for a certain time
Yeah.
as opposed to just finish, then it's like, well, I need to be spending some time closer towards the paces that I want to
goal
actually
pace.
run and
Yeah,
race
of
at,
course.
and how do I do that?
Of course, yeah. I mean, you can really break down most training programs kind of revolve around having one pretty fast day, one tempo-ish, longer day, and then also a long, slow day. With this, we have data at all 3 points, and we can prescribe a very, very specific
Oh, this
running
is so
program
great.
based on everything around. Yeah. So we're going to transfer into substrate utilization, what you had for breakfast, why it changed this,
Okay.
and then we'll talk about fats as well.
Let's do it. So, final piece of data set, what are we going after?
Substrate utilization.
Substrate utilization.
Basically, carbohydrates or fats. What are
Okay.
you using to fuel your runs?
Interesting.
Are those carb gels good for you? Are ketone shots good for you?
So this is when we're talking about metabolic efficiency. Am I a fat burning athlete or not?
Yeah.
And that's like what we kind of hear a lot these days. So you actually have
Exactly.
data on where I'm at right now.
100% data on where you're at. If you're going to go on a long, slow down run, what should you fuel with, and vice versa as
Very
well.
cool.
So let's talk about this value a little bit. It's called RER, Respiratory Exchange Ratio. It stands for how much oxygen you're taking in,
Yep.
how much CO2 you're exhaling. Okay, so if it's a 1-to-1 ratio, your RER is 1. 7 to 10 ratio, RER is 0.7, and so on. So we know that the theoretical limits of RER are between 0.7 and 1.
Okay.
Because biochemically, if you write out the equation, old school biochemistry,
Yeah.
it's fats on one side of the equation versus the other when they're oxidized, is 7 to 10, and then carbohydrates are 1 to 1. Oxygen and CO2. So that's how we get those 0.7 and 1 values. What does this really mean though? We know that at 0.7 you are burning 100% fats. At
Okay.
1 you are burning 100% carbohydrates.
Oh, I
We
see.
see that here. 0.7,
Yep.
100% fats. 1, 100% carbohydrates. So if you're gonna run a race at race pace, all out at your physiological max, somewhere around heart rate of 170,
Yep.
we can assume that you're using 100% carbohydrates.
I see.
What should you probably eat to fuel that race? Most likely carbohydrates.
I see.
Are you still using fats? Yes, of course. There's still other things going on.
Yep.
But predominantly most of the energy is coming from carbohydrates. Now we know as this value increases, see how it goes above 1?
Yes.
Remember when I said, okay, you're in the pain cave?
Right.
This is that point. Now you're releasing more CO2 than oxygen you're consuming.
Okay.
You're no longer relying on aerobic sources, oxygen. You're now relying on anaerobic sources, internal energy systems. No oxygen being used.
Yeah.
Well, there's oxygen being used,
Right.
but you're relying on everything. You need that little boost, and that comes from the anaerobic, which produces a lot more acid. And that's when you get that,
That's when you get slammed.
done. And then somehow you lasted 2 more minutes in the pain cave and got your RER all the way up to, it looks like 1.15.
Oh, wow.
Extremely high. The highest I've ever seen is 1.4.
Oh, wow.
1.4. Afterwards, his lip dropped. His lip went numb. He was so acidic. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
So acidic that his lip completely dropped.
Oh, man.
Right? Yeah.
That's
So that
gnarly.
is grind mode. But what does that tell us? It tells us a lot about the psychology of our athletes as well. It's not all about the physiology. How motivated are you to complete the task? Right?
Yeah.
How motivated are you to get through it? Exactly. So with this, what we can do is correlate this value here, your aerobic threshold. We know your heart rate is about 141. And the anaerobic threshold, this line here, we know your heart rate is about 170. Now, if you're going to go for a run tomorrow, based on your average heart rate for that run or your average zone that you want
Yep.
to hit, we can talk about fueling specifically for those runs as well. So, at Netflix and chill, we rely on fats.
Right.
At rest, we rely on fats.
Yeah.
At all-out intensity, we rely on carbohydrates. Anything above that, we rely on anaerobic internal sources.
Yeah.
We even start to break down proteins and other things
Yeah.
as well. Yeah.
I'm laughing at Netflix and chill because we always say Netflix and mobilize around
Netflix
our
and
little
mobilize?
communities. Yeah, it's like, hey, if you're chilling, you could be chilling on a foam roller and working
yeah,
on something.
You're right. I like that. Netflix and
It's like,
mobilize.
dude, earn your miles, man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm gonna get a Netflix mobilize. Awesome. So yeah, this tells us a lot about substrates utilization, and our gel's good for you, our ketone's good for you. We have a lot of our ultra endurance athletes. Their whole spectrum is somewhere around here.
Right.
At the very end, this graph just shifts upward towards carbohydrates. But they're racing with their heart rate so low.
Yep.
They're using fats almost the
So they're
whole
just
time.
so efficient there.
Yeah, they're locked into fat. Or if you have other athletes, the general population who's less fit than an ultra,
Yep.
their RER will start higher.
Yep.
Always start higher. So the more fit that an athlete is, the lower the RER is at start. Basically tells you a lot about what substrates you should use. Do you need a banana before you run, or do you need an avocado, and vice
Right,
versa?
right.
Exactly. Most important thing is we have a lot of fueling companies coming out. They're everywhere. There's goos, there's gels, there's snacks, gummy bears, all these things. What's best? Try it before you run and try and fit it into your profile.
Interesting.
Long, slow run, try something on the fatty end.
Yeah,
But
'cause you
always
don't
try
need
it on a
that quick
shorter
spark.
distance,
Yep.
make sure it's good. It's going to maintain. If you're going for a gnarly 800 repeat, you know you're in this spectrum and you're relying on carbohydrates. The important part of there is if you're fueling your runs, you'll end up running faster. If you run faster, you get a bigger training adaptation. Bigger training adaptation over 3 months to a year, the little things add up.
Yeah.
And that's how you break sub 90 from 95
Totally.
minutes.
So what do you see with me with my numbers? Because I have a number that kind of scoops up, but then it sort of drops down,
Yeah.
then it goes up again, and then it just slowly
It
creeps.
slowly creeps up. So again, we know as intensity increases, we shift from fats to carbohydrates. You can see as we initiated the test, your RER was right around 0.7, usually
Yep.
mostly fats. Now, have you ever heard of like you are what you eat?
Sure.
Basically, the more carbs that you eat, your body's going to instantly use carbs.
Right.
It's whatever's in the blood.
And that's why you asked me what I had for
Ask
breakfast
what you
or
had
lunch
for
this
breakfast.
morning.
So typically we see if somebody has a carby day, their RER will start low, but as
Yep.
you start training, you're going to use what's available first and
Interesting.
foremost.
Now, a lot of times I'm running first thing in the morning. Right now, as we're filming, it's like 3 in the afternoon. I'm usually training in a fasted state. So if I came in here not having had any food and done this test, you potentially would have seen this play out a little different.
Most likely wouldn't see this hump here. This
Right.
is a carbohydrate spike, basically.
Right.
We'd most likely see this gradual, more of a linear relationship rather than a bump. And so, yeah. Definitely.
Very cool.
Yeah. Questions on substrate utilization?
I don't think so. I got a lot to
You know what-
digest.
You
Heyo.
know what you need to eat before you run?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
So,
Great.
long, slow, fat. Specifically, if your heart rate is somewhere around 141,
Yep.
try and have a more fatty base.
Right. When I get closer to workouts in the 170s, I know I'm going to be needing a little bit more carbohydrate to make it happen.
Exactly. 100%.
Awesome.
Cool, man. You're fueled
Dude.
and ready to go.
Well, thank you. I'm going to go sit down now.
Thank you. Hello.
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 Trevor,
hello.
whated you have for breakfast?
1, 2, 3.
What'd you have for
bacon
breakfast this morning?
Scramble. Juicy bacon scramble.
Juicy bacon scramble.
Juicy bacon.
Back with Trevor for bleh. I'll start over. And you're starting.
Again.
It's good. He's starting.
Perfect. Yeah. Yo, hit the
No. You jumped the gun. You jumped the gun that time.
That was a gift.
Cheater.
Totally space. That's what happened last time. Yeah. Hey guys, if you like this video, hit the thumbs up down below.
Of course, if you have any comments or questions for Trevor, myself, drop those down below. What is it like to do a VO2? How am I still feeling afterwards? I'll let you know. And of course, subscribe to our channel, guys. We got we got a few more great videos with Trevor going a deep dive into run gait analysis and a full strength and muscle test, which is really informative and kind of fun to geek out on, as well as every running topic under the sun. So get on it, subscribe to our channel. We're gonna keep filming. Actually, we're not gonna film. I'm gonna recover.
Yeah, recover.
And then I'll see you guys in the next video.
I keep God first. I see evil, when I converse. Not today, say. This how God works. Play my position, what is given with no concerns. Go. Set it off. Top of the morning, I'm gonna set it off.